Hello, my name is DB, and welcome to All Things Brass and Technology, and I'm in DB Studios. I'm so excited to present to you today a new video of an ongoing series that I have called Donald Byrd-isms. Now, Donald Byrd was the great jazz trumpet player. It had so many amazing, legendary recordings on Blue Note Records. He's played with everybody from Thelonious Monk to John Coltrane, and the list goes on. And he was my mentor. And he taught me a lot of amazing things, and I want to share them with you. So, let's get it. All right, let's get right to this and stay with me because this is going to move fast, right? So this video is about how Donald taught me to practice scales. Okay, so this video is about what he showed me or how he showed me to practice scales. Okay, so a couple things up front. I'm going to be talking my key, which is trumpet, which is B flat. So for all those other instruments, piano, alto saxophone, or whatever, do your transposition. I'm talking trumpet key, which is B flat. So right off the bat, that's that. And another thing is, this was how Donald taught me to play scales. There's a million different ways to practice scales. I'm just showing you what he showed me. Right? I never did it this way until he showed it to me. And so I'm going to show it to you. Okay? And there's 4 different ways, and this is going to be a 4-part video. I'm going to do one at a time. So the first way, I'll just tell you the 4 ways, and then I'll make 4 different videos. The first way was, or the first way is, to practice scales chromatically, which means half step, half step, half step, half step. Practice scales in whole tone motion. Okay. Practice scales in minor thirds, which is diminished. And practice scales in major thirds, which is augmented. Those are the 4 ways. Half steps, whole steps, minor thirds, and major thirds. Now, all we are doing now, listen, check this out. Stay with me. All we are doing is taking the root motion of half steps, whole steps, minor thirds, and major thirds. And we're plugging in whatever scale we choose, which will be major for this series. 4-part series. First part being chromatic, which is this video. Second part being whole tone. Third part being minor thirds. Fourth part being augmented. Okay, so let's get to this chromatic. Let's get to this chromatic portion, and I'll break it down for you. Let's go. Okay, I'm going to backtrack just a little. When I say whole tone or the whole tone scale, all I mean is moving in whole step motion. Whole step motion. That's what I mean by that. I want to make sure that's clear. Let's go. Okay, so we're going to be using the major scale for this exercise, but you could use pretty much any scale. You know, we're using the major scale, but you could use Dorian, you could use Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. You know, you could jump to the melodic minor scale. You could use melodic minor, Dorian flat 2, Lydian augmented, Lydian flat 7, mixed Lydian flat 13, Locrian natural 9, and the altered scale, also called super Locrian, also called diminished whole tone. Boom. Anything. But for this series, I'm going to be using the major scale. Yes. Donald Byrd was so smart, you know, with the way he practiced things. He tried to really maximize his time, you know. And so he figured out ways on how to do many things in one, if that makes sense. Right? So basically, we're dealing with this. We're dealing with chromatic motion. And chromatic motion is just a series of half steps. Now, there's 12 tones in Western music. Right? It's amazing. We're all playing the same 12 tones, but, you know, people just sound different. I think a lot of that stuff comes from their rhythmic conception. That's another video. But, so we're dealing with the chromatic scale and plugging in the major scale on every chromatic note from where we start. And we will always be starting from F sharp. Always in this video series. Now you may ask, why do you start on F sharp? The answer is very, very easy. Because it is the lowest note on the trumpet. 1, 2, and 3. So that's where we're going to start. F sharp. Okay? And so basically what will happen is we will play the F sharp major scale. Then we'll play the G major scale, that's up a half step. Then we'll play the G sharp major scale, then the A major scale, then the A sharp major scale, then the B major scale, then the C major scale, C sharp, D, and go all the way up to the octave. And that's it. We are only using the root motion of the chromatic scale and plugging in the major scale with all these chromatic notes. I hope that makes sense. And if it did not make sense to you verbally, I will play it for you. And you use your ears and you'll hear it. Now, when Donald was teaching me this stuff, you know, in the beginning, I would try to write all this stuff down. He said, no. Just listen. And try to do it. You'll get it. Just trust and listen. Once you get it, then you write it down. I'm just giving you the same process that he gave me. All right, so hopefully what I just said makes sense. Yes. Okay, so when we play the scale, it's going to be played ascending and descending. Right? And we omit, which means do not play the octave. So we only play to the major seventh. Right? So when we play ascending, it's going to just be eighth notes on beat 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And when we descend, it's going to be eighth notes on beat 1, eighth note on beat 2, and a half note on beat 3 and 4. So it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Okay, so that's the way we will play this. Let me sing it for you, and then I'll play it for you. Let's get it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do.
1 and 2
So that is the way the scale is to be played, right? Now, I don't know why Donald omitted the octave. He never said anything about it. But he always talked about having even lines that were just even, you know. And he talked about playing scales or playing lines from scales over 2 octaves. Because I asked him one time, well, how do you play those long lines? He said, man, I just play scales 2 octaves. Sounds easy. He made it sound easy. He made it sound amazing. So that's pretty much it. So now let me play the entire exercise, and then we'll talk about it. But before I get to that, I have to take a quick commercial break. Yes, man. For the playing examples, I will be using this. That's the Lotus Solo Max. Let me take you through it. Oh, man, oh, man. Beautiful copper bell. Bronze bell flare. Beautiful valve tops. Look at that. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Bronze mouthpiece receiver. Nickel silver lead pipe. Brass tuning slide. Foul block. Nickel silver here. Bronze. Oh man, this is out of sight horn, baby. I like. If you haven't tried Lotus trumpets before, I really encourage you to get your hands on one or all of them and give them a whirl, because they're amazing horns. I really love playing Lotus. It really allows me to get to the depths of my creativity. Lotus Solo Max. Yes. Okay, so let me play the whole exercise in its entirety. I will be using this metronome, which is the Boss DB90. It's one of the famous Boss machines that a lot of musicians use for metronomes, or used back in the day. I've had it for a substantial amount of time. And it has so many different sounds in it for the metronome. But for this example, I will be using the voice mode. So you will be able to hear the counting. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Some people don't like the voice mode. I'm totally fine with it. It's just so that you could hear the count off and then just follow along with me. So let's get it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so that's it. So now let's get into the mindset of Dr. Donald Byrd with this exercise. So the first thing that he said that you will gain by practicing scales like this is just learning the scale, which is the major scale. Okay? The next thing that you will learn is to be fluent in all 12 keys, because you're moving this scale through all 12 keys. All right? The third thing, you will gain technique, because it takes technique to move through keys. The fourth thing is you will learn harmonic movement as an improviser, as a composer, because we are moving in half steps. So you will, when you practice like this, you're learning harmonic movement. And so when you see harmonic movement in tunes, like moving in half steps, you've been practicing this way, moving scales through half steps. So yes, you could navigate, I don't want to say with ease, because improvising is not easy, but you will be familiar with these types of movements and be able to get your stuff in. So the way I looked at it, I was like, wow, it's a lot of bang for the buck. And that's the way Donald's mind worked. And I really respect that, because, especially students are very busy, because you're taking all these classes. So when you hit the practice room, you want a method that you could knock out as much stuff in one method as you can. And a lot of Donald's teaching was like this. Very powerful and very useful. And yes, great results. So this is the first of a 4-part series on how Donald Byrd taught me how to practice scales. The first one we did today was chromatic movement. I'm going to follow that by whole step movement, then minor thirds, which is diminished, and major thirds, which is augmented. Yes. Thank you. Me, DB, I thank you for spending this time with me. Donald Byrd-isms. If you like the content that I bring to all things brass and technology, please subscribe. Now listen, I'm telling the truth. I see thousands of people come by to hang with D, and they're not subscribing. I'm looking at the analytics. So if you're getting anything out of what I'm bringing to you on all things brass and technology, please subscribe to the channel. Click on the notification bell, because that will let you know every time I drop a new video. Yes, man. And I will see you soon. Thank you.